The general principle in Al-Islam of al-bara' wal-wala, as was explained by Ibn Qayyim and many others, is to love and to hate for the sake of Allah, which is simply summed up as loving the Muslims and hating the non-Muslims. Being loyal to the Muslims and not being loyal to the non-Muslims. Supporting the Muslims and not supporting shirk and kufr, etc. Regardless of the different types of shirk and kufr. Buddhist, Hindu, this, that, so.
You know, we're hearing a lot about Islam in the news these days, so I thought I'd do a video about it and what it actually teaches about relationships vis-a-vis other religions. And the more I delved into it, the more disturbed I became. Apparently, just about all the negative shit you hear about it's true. However, there are some things I couldn't substantiate. Well, for instance, I don't really think that bestiality is condoned, or practices like necrophilia. I've heard that they were, and I couldn't really substantiate that, but pedophilia is definitely approved of down to the age of 9. But, you know, ultimately, I don't think it matters that much because there are a ton of undisputed teachings in Islam that more than make up for it, and we're going to go over some of those, and I'll show you what's all about. Let's look at what Winston Churchill had to say. How dreadful are the curses which Mohammedanism lays on its votaries. The influence of the religion paralyzes the social development of those who follow it. No stronger retrograde force exists in this world. And after looking into this in more detail, I think I kind of got to agree with him. I started trying to read the second surah of the Quran once. The first surah is just a prayer, so I started with the second surah, and I only lasted about a page because the whole thing was nothing but hate. Hatred for non-Muslims. That's all it ever talked about. You get into a conversation with a Muslim and they never talk about the Quran. They just spend all their time telling you what a son of a bitch you are and quoting Bible passages and Torah passages, trying to tell you how bad you are. And you know, it seems like they actually know more about other religions than they do their own. I would suggest that you do that. Just read some. Start with the second surah and read it and tell me if I'm wrong. I dare you. But there is no place in the Quran where Muhammad tells Muslims to love people of other religions. By contrast, there are at least 36 verses that tell believers to hate non-Muslims. To put this into perspective, nearly 1 out of 12 verses in the Quran implies that Allah hates non-Muslims. Muhammad instructed his followers to love and not hate, which is a partial truth. There are hadith that tell Muslims not to hate and not to do harm in word or deed, but the context and exact wording makes it very clear that this applies within the Muslim community to a believer's relations with fellow Muslims. These are not commands that govern a Muslim's obligation to the general community. You'll also hear a lot of talk about how they say they're a religion of peace. But what they mean by that is that once they've conquered the whole world and everybody is a Muslim, then there's peace. So they're a religion of peace in that sense.
والله لو أخرجنا اليهود من فلسطين لو أخرجناهم من فلسطين وأخرجناهم من بيت المقدس دون أن يسلموا ولو ذهبوا آخر العالم سنلاحقهم وسندعوهم إلى الإسلام وندعو بوجه الإسلام وندعو جميع النصارى للإسلام. نعم ديننا دين الرحمة.
نعم، أنا أوصي أولا يعني الإخوة المجاهدين في سرايا القدس أن يستمروا في عملهم المقاوم.
نحن لا نحب الحياة، نحن طلقنا الدنيا بالثلاثة، نحن الذين عمروا آخرتهم.
Let me just read some of these passages here so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, also, there are three, I guess you could call them holy books in Islam. There's the Quran, there's the Hadith, which are like commentaries on the Quran, and then there's the Surah, Sirah, which is Muhammad's biography. But anyway, let me read you some of these passages here. Surah 3, 151. We shall cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve, all non-Muslims. I'll just read these. Slay the unbeliever wherever you find them. Muslims must not take the infidels as friends. Any religion other than Islam is not acceptable. Maim and crucify the infidels if they criticize Islam. Terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. Muslims must muster all weapons to terrorize the infidels. The unbelievers are stupid. Urge the Muslims to fight them. When opportunity arises, kill the infidels wherever you find them. The Jews and Christians are perverts. Fight them. Make war on the infidels living in your neighborhood. Punish the unbelievers with garments of fire. Hook iron rods, boiling water, melt their skin and bellies. Do not hanker for peace with the infidels. Behead them when you catch them. Now, you can hear Muslims quote some passages of the Quran that speak about love, peace, and granola type shit. But you've got to kind of understand where the whole thing's coming from. In the first years of his ministry, quote-unquote ministry, Muhammad lived in Mecca. And during the time he was living in Mecca, he taught, love, peace, forgiveness, tolerance. But then, in all the time he was doing that, he only got about 100 followers in 13 years. So he goes to Medina, and then that's when all the other shit starts with the head chopping and all that other stuff. And so you've kind of got to look at the point in which the verse was written, because in Muslim theology, the later the verse occurs in the Quran, the more true it is. So things that are written in the beginning of the Quran can be and are nullified by later passages that contradict it. So just because somebody tells you something about love, peace, and tolerance, and it may say that in the Quran, that doesn't make any difference. You need to look at what Muhammad said later on in the Quran after he went to Medina.
Bir de manası neshedilip, yani hükmü neshedilip lafzı duran var. Mesela nedir? Kafirler için diyor ki fa'fu vasfahu, affedin, görmezden gelin. Neden? Güçsüzler. Mekke dönemi gücünüz yok, şeyiniz yok, idare edin, görmezden gelin diyen ayetler var. Leküm dinukum veliye din. Senin dinin sana, benim dinim bana, birbirimizden bize ne? Bu hüküm şu anda normalde geçerli değil. İslam'ın gücü olduğu noktada leküm dinukum yok. Ama şimdi biz yine güçsüz durumdayız. Yine başladık leküm dinüküm demeye tabii. Ayrı dava.
Tamam, peki.
Believe it or not, lying is actually written into their religion. Lying to non-Muslims is not only allowed, it is celebrated and encouraged. There are several forms of lying to non-believers that are permitted, the best known being taqiyya, the Shia name. These circumstances are typically those that advance the cause of Islam, in some cases by gaining the trust of non-believers in order to draw out their vulnerability and defeat them. So they've got 6 different kinds of lying that they've defined. There's taqiyya, a tactical deceit for the purpose of spreading Islam. Kitman, deceit by omission, when Muslims quote Surah 532, for instance, and I'm going to go over that. Haisir, deceit through facilitation. In other words, not observing the tenets of Sharia law to make it look like you don't care about them. Deceit through necessity. And then Moruna, the temporary suspension of Sharia to make Muslim migrants appear moderate to the gullible kafir who doesn't know what Islam teaches. Kafir, that's me, that's you. If you're not a Muslim, you're a kafir. I need to get a t-shirt or a hat that says kafir on it. I think that would be cool. But anyway, let's look at Surah 532. And I've seen Muslims doing this on X and in forums. So I'll just read it here as they post it. Whoever kills a soul, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. Oh, that's so good. That's so wonderful. But let's look at what it really says. Because of that, we decreed upon the children of Israel that whoever kills a soul, unless for murder or mischief in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. So, you know, he's not talking about Muslims. He's talking about non-Muslims right there. And it's saying that they can kill you unless you murder someone or you do mischief in the land. That's fasad. And I looked up the word. Fasad means spreading mischief. And that could be anything from stirring up trouble between neighbors to causing political unrest. So in other words, they can kill you for whatever they want. Just make up anything. The lesson to be taken from this, though, is that how can you trust anything they say when you consider this? How can you ever trust anything they say? Even if they say they've become Christians or Jews or any other religion, or if they say they've become atheists, how can you trust them to be telling you the truth? Because it clearly says in there that you can do that to fool the kafir. Oh, my goodness. We have got a problem in the West.
This is our country now. You hear me, kafir? You can't disturb us. There is nothing you can do about it.
Oh, if you're a Christian or a Jew, and only a Christian or a Jew, you can live in a Muslim country without having to convert. But you have to pay a tax, and you're humiliated constantly, and you have to walk around, be a third-class citizen and all that. But ultimately, if there ever comes a time where you can't pay the tax, then you have to convert, or they kill you. It's simple as that. Over the last 1,400 years, Islam has murdered 270 million people, non-believers. That's 528 people per day and 22 people per hour, approximately. So that alone should tell you that they're not the religion of peace. Far from it. If you don't listen to any other thing that I've said in this video, look at the history. And speaking of history, let's just look at the relationship that Islam has traditionally had with Nazism. And it's been hand in glove the whole time. Mein Kampf it's a bestseller in the Middle East, and they read it not because they want to analyze what an evil man Adolf Hitler was. They read it because they like it, and they think it's all well and good. And there's some pictures there of Hitler and what have you. Hitler actually said, I'm going to read this here, the Mohammedan religion, too, would have been much more compatible to us than Christianity. Why did it have to be Christianity with its meekness and flabbiness? That's what Hitler said about Islam. And he always said that he had wished that Islam had conquered Europe and that Europe had become Muslim. And then, of course, there's some pictures there of the Muslims giving Nazi salutes. And you'll find pictures like that dozens of pictures like that all over the internet. Here's another Hitler quote. The only religion I respect is Islam. The only prophet I admire is the Prophet Muhammad. So, that kind of sums it up. Well, so there you have it. We've got a problem in the West that needs to be rectified. I think it's probably too late in Europe and in England. Maybe not in England. Certainly not here. It's not too late here. Canada, yes, it's too late. They're gone. But anyway, we have a chance to stop this if we'll do it. But if we don't, we're all going to be Muslims. And I just recently did a video on why the world's elites and leaders like Islam so much, because they're trying to make us all Muslims. Go back and watch that. It'll tell you everything. Oh well, heaven help us.
You're a liar. I wouldn't trust you. I'd have to hate you as well.
So the point is you won't have a conversation with me because I'm a Christian.
No, I won't believe anything you say because you're a liar. And you're a Christian as well. I hate you for the sake of Allah.
You hate me for the sake of Allah.
I hate you for the sake of Allah.
All right.
I hate you for the sake of Allah. Every Christian, I hate you all for the sake of Allah. Any Jew, any Christian, I hate you all for the sake of Allah.
He hates me for the sake of Allah.
You hate these bastards and the other bastards as well.
Would you kill me if you get a chance?
If we're at war, I will chop your head off.
Allah guide you.
If we're fighting in war, am I supposed to let him kill me? I said if we are.
No, let's ask this again. Do you hate me?
Yes, I hate you for the sake of Allah.
Who taught you to hate me?